Kabeer Biswas, the last standing founder of Dunzo, has signed on to lead Flipkart's quick commerce vertical Minutes. But there's a problem. Welcome to our weekly Indian startup news show here at Backstage with Millionaires. I'm Caleb Friesen, your host. And according to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, a private company like Dunzo must have at least 2 directors. But guess what? Kabeer is one of the last 2 remaining board members of the company. So until a sale or liquidation is finalized, he's legally bound to stay at Dunzo. And we don't know how Kabeer plans to figure out his exit strategy, but it's worth noting that Kabeer hasn't given up without a fight. Over the past year and a half, he tried pretty much everything, slashing the workforce by 75%, pitching acquisition deals to Reliance, Swiggy, BigBasket, and Flipkart, and even approaching asset restructuring firms. But nothing seemed to work. Dunzo's 600 crore rupees of debt was a deal breaker for everyone. Even Reliance, Dunzo's largest investor with a 26% stake, initially considered a bailout, but later they even vetoed Dunzo's external fundraising efforts and eventually wrote off their $200 million investment into the company. And that made things a lot tougher for Kabeer. And while he's planning his next move, day-to-day operations are being handled by Sarvesh Arora, who joined Dunzo in 2022. And here's the surprising part. Despite everything, Dunzo is actually breaking even operationally, and they're actually paying salaries to the employees that they have left on time, but that doesn't include their massive debts, their liabilities, and their fall from grace, of course, has been staggering. They were once valued at $800 million. They once had a workforce of 2,000 employees. They handled over 8.3 million orders a month, but today just 50 employees are left, 40,000 daily orders. And yet I still think for the right buyer, its business model and technology stack could hold a lot of value. And if you want to learn more about exactly what led to Dunzo's downfall, you can actually check this video out up here. We made it back in 2023 covering the downfall of Dunzo, how they got to this point. Go check it out if you're interested. All right, next up, here at Backstage with Millionaires, we've been dedicated to empowering entrepreneurs for now over 6 years. It's been that long since we started this YouTube channel. And during this journey, we've observed a significant gap between service providers and service seekers in the entrepreneurial ecosystem. And a major reason behind this gap is the lack of trust in service providers. And one of the first challenges that entrepreneurs face is finding reliable partners to register their companies or manage their legal and financial needs. And so to address this gap and add value to the ecosystem, we're excited to announce the launch of a platform designed to help entrepreneurs register their businesses and handle financial and legal compliances effortlessly. We have assembled a team of highly qualified and experienced CAs and lawyers who are equipped to assist your business from its very inception. Whether you're looking for company registration, regulatory compliances, GST registration and filing, founders and shareholders agreements, legal documentation for fundraising, we've got you covered. And so if you're an entrepreneur in need of any of these services, simply fill out the Google form linked below with a couple of details about your requirements, and our team will get in touch with you at the earliest. So let's work together to make your entrepreneurial journey smoother and more successful. All right, next up in the news, the Good Glamm Group, India's content-to-commerce unicorn, is facing a severe cash crunch, forcing the company to delay salary payments to employees. But that's not all, because if the company fails to secure the funds it needs, layoffs may be next. In a town hall on January 2nd, CEO Darpan Sangvi informed employees that salaries were being delayed because a critical funding round had fallen through. And this has left the company struggling to pay its 300 employees on time. Those earning under 50,000 rupees received their full salaries after a 1-day delay, while employees earning more than 50,000 rupees were paid only half. The remaining half, along with payments to the leadership team, which accounts for 15% of the workforce, is promised by the end of the month. And to address this crisis, the Good Glamm Group is exploring 3 emergency options. 1, bringing in a strategic investor. 2, selling off one of their acquired brands, such as Sirona or the Moms Co. Or 3, raising funds from financial investors. Just last year, the company had raised $30 million from major investors like Warburg Pincus and Process Ventures, but this hasn't been enough to offset their financial troubles. And in the fiscal year 2023, while their revenue grew to 603 crore rupees, losses increased to 917 crore rupees. Signs of trouble at Good Glamm started to appear in 2024 when the company laid off 150 employees and put 3 of their acquired brands up for sale sale, and Good Glamm's journey began in 2021 with a bold vision. It merged MyGlamm with digital platforms PopXO and Baby Chakra and went on to acquire nearly a dozen brands while raising $300 million in funding, but this rapid expansion seems to have come at a cost. Now, while Good Glamm Group is struggling to raise money, another D2C beauty brand, Minimalist, is on the verge of being acquired for 3,000 crore rupees by India's biggest consumer goods brand, HUL, potentially making it one of the biggest D2C acquisitions in Indian startup history. Now, keep in mind, this deal has not been finalized yet. The details are still being negotiated, but if it goes through, this would increase Minimalist valuation nearly fivefold in just 3 years. That's a massive achievement for a 4-year-old brand from Jaipur. But one thing that sets Minimalist apart from a lot of other Indian D2C startups is their consistent profitability. The company has been profitable for the last 4 years, so let's take a look at their numbers. In FY24, Minimalist revenue grew by 89% to reach 350 crore rupees, while its profits more than doubled to 11 crore rupees. This financial discipline has enabled Minimalist to bring in revenue multiples of 10x, far exceeding the typical 4 to 6x that you would see in similar brands. But HUL's interest in Minimalist isn't new. 3 years ago, HUL invested 110 crore rupees into the company, and now it seems India's largest consumer goods company is ready to fully acquire Minimalist and make it an HUL brand. All right, now let's move into some quick news updates here. First of all, Ola Electric has received a warning from SEBI after Sarvesh Arora announced plans for 3,200 new stores on social media before informing stock exchanges, which breached SEBI regulations that required timely and equal dissemination of information. Next up, Indian space tech startup Pixxel has signed an agreement with South Korea's SIIS to supply hyperspectral data in Korea. Then, after finding success with Bolt, Swiggy has launched another 15-minute food delivery app, SNACC. And while Bolt only lists restaurants that can deliver food in 15 minutes, SNACC delivers food to their customers from a centralized location like a cloud kitchen. All right, now let's move to the funding news segment for today's video. This week, Indian startups raised a total of $94 million, which is significantly higher than last week's $66.7 million, but it's still below the trend line for the 4th consecutive week. So now let's take a look at some of the companies that have raised funds this week. The first one I want to talk about here is Mumbai-based NBFC Infinity FinCorp Solutions, which has raised $35 million. Following that, we have a D2C snacks brand, Beyond Snack, which you might remember from Shark Tank India's Season 1, and they've raised $8.3 million in their Series A round. After that, we have Bengaluru-based Emo Energy, which makes batteries for EVs, and they've raised $6.2 million in their Series A round. And then after that, we have Bengaluru-based electric motorcycle maker Ola Electric, and they've raised $6 million in their Series A round. Following that, we have Bengaluru-based Brainsight AI, a deep tech startup that has built a flagship AI-powered diagnostic tool called VoxelBox, which can analyze MRI scans of brains to help doctors identify and treat brain disorders. And they've raised $5 million in their pre-Series A round. And then finally, we have a Mumbai-based prop tech startup, HBits, which lets you get fractional ownership of commercial real estate properties, and they've raised $4.66 million in their Series A round. All right, that is all the Indian startup news that I have for you all this week. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't checked it out already, Pankaj made an amazing video analyzing whether Reliance has what it takes to actually win India's quick commerce war. So check that video out if you're interested. You can find it up here. But either way, I'm Caleb Friesen, and this has been Backstage with Millionaires. I'll catch you in the next one.